Hello everybody, today is a very special day. Today is the Valentine's Day special and I'm going to make and share with you my very best cornbread recipe. It's super moist and delicious, and once you try it, you'll never want to eat a different kind of cornbread again. So let's get started. But wait, is this recipe keto friendly? Absolutely not. Well, is it at least low carb? It's definitely not low carb. The nutrition information will be provided for this recipe, and it will also be available in imperial and metric, as well as in weight and volume, so that it can accommodate any number of bakers. Let's get started with your materials, because there are some that you're going to need that you might not be prepared for. Obviously, you're going to need measuring cups and measuring spoons and things like that, but you're also going to need a whisk, and you're also going to need a spatula, and you're also going to need a sifter for best results. Also, as mentioned, the recipe is going to be in volumes and in weights, and so I recommend going by weight. So I recommend a scale. If you don't have one yet, as mentioned, it's also available in like your traditional baking measurements. And bowls, lots and lots of bowls. All right, let's get to mixing. For this recipe, you will need 80 grams of all-purpose flour, 10 grams of baking powder, 5 grams of salt, 42 grams of white sugar, 300 grams of sour cream, 125 milliliters of oil, 2 eggs, 250 milliliters of creamed corn, and 200 grams of cornmeal. I want to talk to you about a couple of the ingredients. The recipe calls for corn oil. I am substituting corn oil for avocado oil today. If you want to have more true corn flavor, I guess you can use the corn oil. I'm not a huge consumer of corn products to begin with. This recipe is for very special occasions and I use it very rarely. If you want to go full out corn, I suggest getting yourself some corn oil. If you want to know a little bit about oils, there is a video in the description that I did a couple months ago talking about the different kinds of oils. I highly recommend that you take a look at that. So that's it on the corn oil front. A quick word on sifting. We are going to be sifting all of the dry ingredients in this recipe except for the cornmeal. Sifting aerates the ingredients, which helps produce a much lighter and fluffier product, but also it eliminates any clumps or things like that that you can sometimes get with baking powder. So that's going to be a very important step, and I encourage you not to skip it. One other quick mention is going to be the creamed corn. If you want to make your own creamed corn, there are probably a lot of recipes out there. One reason for making your own creamed corn is a lot of the creamed corn comes with a product called modified cornstarch, and some people don't like that to be in their food. So either you can find a canned creamed corn product that doesn't have that additive, or you could make your own. If you do make your own, just be aware of the differences in liquid from a homemade product compared to a canned product. That will have an impact on your cooking time and possibly the texture of your product. All right, back to the ingredients. So this involves folding the wet into the dry, and then once that is slightly mixed, we fold in the creamed corn. Did you know that once you add a liquid to baking powder, it starts to activate? So make sure not to mix your wet and dry ingredients together before the oven has been preheated to 350 degrees. Now, it's very important not to overmix this batter because it will cause the gluten to activate and it'll cause it to become very tough. So I'm just going to get this started. And the method is called folding. So you take it down the middle and up the side, down the middle and up the side. And you just keep doing that until you can get good coverage I won't fast forward through this so that you can see just how long it takes. The key is to not overwork it, but just to get it sort of combined. Always make sure to scrape up from the bottom of the bowl to get any loose dry ingredients. And then we'll fold in the creamed corn. Now in the meantime, while the oven was preheating, you should have gotten together the ingredients, but you also should have grabbed either an 8x8 or 9x9 glass pan. I recommend a glass pan because that's what I use for this recipe. If you use glass, usually you want to decrease the cooking time because of the way glass insulates food. If you use a metal pan, you might need to increase cook time by 5 to 10 minutes. It's gonna be very important to pay attention while you're baking. So let's mix this in. Now, there is no need to grease this pan like you would with other baking products. This recipe is very high in fat. Now let's take it to the oven. Now remember, if you're using a metal pan, you may need to cook this for a little longer. I would start checking the doneness at about 30 minutes. This could cook up to 40 to 45 depending on the material of the pan you're cooking it in. To check for doneness, I would use a skewer or something that's very thin and long. And what you want to do is poke it in towards the center of the cornbread, and you want it to come out relatively clean. You don't want big chunks on it, and you don't want it to look wet and slippery. Now you don't want it to get too overdone because it will do a small amount of carryover cooking once you take it out of the oven. And if you've cooked it for the maximum amount of time, you may end up with a bit of a drier cornbread. But I'm serious, this cornbread recipe is almost foolproof. There's so much fat and moisture in it that I've made it countless times. Of course, not over the last several few years, but every time I've made it, it's always come out super soft and super luscious. And that's one of the reasons it's my favorite recipe, is because it's foolproof. So we're gonna wait for about 35 minutes and then we'll check on it. That's a nope. Gonna put it back in for 5 more minutes. Looks like it needs 5 more minutes, which I think is gonna bring us to pushing up to 45 minutes this time. I baked this last night, a test run on the finalization of some of my recipe changes, and it was cooked within 40 minutes. But looks like today's gonna be a little longer. Back in you go. See you in 5 more minutes. Yeah, that's the sound of me lifting. All right, let's see what we got here. Yes, that is exactly how we want it to look, guys. I guess the only thing left to do is eat it. But first, I'm gonna let that cool and give it a taste test. In the meantime, happy Valentine's Day, if it is indeed still Valentine's Day. Maybe it's not Valentine's Day yet, but this is my gift to you, cornbread, because nothing says love like good cornbread. Thank you for watching my video today. If you want to print out of this recipe, please see the link in the description. It's at www.cookingwithfrankie.com. I'm gonna go ahead and taste this in the outro. In the meantime, if it's Valentine's Day or around Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day. This was my gift to all of you. Give me a thumbs up if you think the cornbread looks tasty. Again, thanks for stopping by. And as always, have a wonderful day. All right, let's take a little look at what this cornbread looks like. Check out how moist that is. All right, let's give it a taste. I'm going to use my fingers like an animal. I mean, I already knew it was gonna be great. I've actually made this 3 times in the last month. If you love cornbread, and who doesn't love cornbread, you must make this recipe. And if you don't like cornbread, you still must make this recipe. I am a huge proponent of continuing to try things that you don't think you like, because you might be eating them prepared improperly. This is not prepared improperly. Please come back if you make this and leave me a message and let me know how you like it.